Dear students in grade 12, the scientific section, good afternoon and welcome to our session for today, in which we are going to talk about Unit 3, which is the history of medicine. Dear students, dear colleagues, let me first introduce my colleagues in the studio who are going to participate in this seminar. Ms. Lucia Karim, an English supervisor from Aleppo Directorate. Good afternoon, Ms. Lucia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Basil.
Thank you. And Ms. Hanan Kantakji, an English teacher from Hama Directorate. Thank you for coming from Hama, Ms. Hanan.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about this.
Don't worry.
It's okay. Well, dear students, dear colleagues, as you know, in Unit 3, we have the title, which is the history of medicine. Of course, there is a books in each unit in your book. If you look at the books, of course, we can use the laptop now to show you the skills in Unit 3. When we talk about medicine, dear students, when we talk about the listening skill, here you are going to practice listening for specific information. When we talk about speaking, you have to be able to talk about traditional and alternative medicine. And then when we talk about reading skill, you have an essay or an article about the history of medicine. When we talk about writing, you are going to write a composition about healthcare in Syria. I mean, the situation of health in Syria nowadays. And when we talk about grammar, dear students, we have the passive voice. And then when we talk about pronunciation, we have something called emphatic stress. It is a skill in pronunciation. When we talk about vocabs or vocabulary, of course, we have some medical words. You have to learn these medical words. And then when we talk about everyday English in your unit, you have to know how to ask for information and how to use different, let's say, types of questions, different question words to ask for information. Dear students, as you know, when we talk about medicine in general, of course, as you know, medicine is a science. So when we talk about this science, we must talk about its progress or development throughout history. So throughout history, of course, various societies and cultures all over the world have developed different views in their approach to illnesses and diseases. We mean here how to deal with different types of illnesses, different types of diseases. There are many periods in the development of medicine, of course. We can talk from about ancient times, how people, let's say, use the word medicine in ancient times, how did they use to treat illnesses at that time, then till we reach the modern medicine, which is the medicine of today, our new medicine. So let me ask Miss Lucia about the ancient times, about medicine, and how did people in ancient times cure their sicknesses at that time, please.
Actually, in ancient times, people used to use herbs or plants in curing people. At that time, let us say medicine was magical or mythological. So people used to use just herbs or plants in curing illnesses.
Good. So by using plants, herbs, and other materials. In the past, dear students, people at that time didn't have any kinds of medicines or drugs. They had only plants, herbs, and some other materials. In countries such as Egypt, Greece, and Rome, Mesopotamia, India, we mean Mesopotamia, it is the region between the two rivers, Tigris River and the Euphrates River, which is Iraq now, maybe. India and China, medicine was magical. So people at that time depended on magic. They used magic to treat their illnesses. Mythological and diseases were attributed mostly to the supernatural forces. That's
and powers.
It. Thank you, Miss Lucia. Now, after that time, Miss Hanan, why did ancient medicine people tend to treat their patients in temples?
Yes, sir. At that time, there was no what we call medicine in the real meaning. So there were no hospitals. The hospitals haven't appeared yet.
Yeah.
So that's why they depended, of course, on temples. They went to temples to be treated, maybe by priests or something like this.
So, because there were no available hospitals at that time, that's why they depended on treating people in
temples.
Yes, that's it. Miss Lucia, now we can talk about the Middle Ages in general. We are in a hurry now, and we are just presenting, let's say, the steps of the progress of medicine throughout history. So how can medicine be described in the Middle Ages? When we talk about the Middle Ages, what do we mean when we say the Middle Ages, Miss
Here
Lucia?
we move to another period between the 9th and 13th century.
Yes.
And here in this period, the medicine was empirical. It depended or focused mainly on curing illnesses rather than just discovering the
When we
causes
say
of the illness
empirical,
itself.
Miss Lucia, what do we mean by the word empirical?
Practical,
It depends on experiments.
We try certain things.
So people tried and tried
Yeah.
till they reached a solution to
A
solve
solution
or
or
to
cure
be
for
able
the
to
illness.
cure the illness. So they used different types of different methods, let's say. So they practiced actually, they tried actually to treat illnesses in different ways.
And rather than focusing on the causes of the illness itself,
Yep.
here we try and then we find the solution.
Good, good.
And at that time, cures continued to be a mixture of superstitions, religion, herbal remedies, bleeding, and purging.
Good, good. Thank you. Now, another question to Miss Hanan.
Yes.
Why didn't people see a doctor in the Middle Ages? Of course, in the Middle Ages, we know, or the text mentions itself, that in the Middle Ages, people were not able to, let's say, visit a doctor.
Yes.
Why?
Because, of course, people at that time, they were not rich enough. They were, and the treatment was expensive, high cost. So, although there were medical schools there at that time, but most people never saw a doctor because of the high cost there.
Good. So, they never saw a doctor because of the high cost treatments at
treatment,
that
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So, the treatment was expensive.
And maybe they were not rich enough.
Exactly. Another question now to Miss Lucia. Who treated most patients in the Middle Ages? If people were not able to visit a doctor because, let's say, the treatment was expensive, so what was the other solution?
They will try to find other alternatives like wise people at that time who can use herbs and know how to use them, or barbers, or even priests, just to treat them and find
So
solution
local
for
wise
the illness.
people were treating people at that time. They were skilled in the use of herbs. They were able to use herbs, or by priests themselves, or barbers.
Barbers.
Maybe like Bab al-Hara in ancient
Maybe.
Damascus. Yes,
Maybe.
it's the same. Okay. Now, when we talk about the 16th century, I think it is the Renaissance.
Yes.
Am I right? This period, maybe?
It's between 14
So
and
what
15 years.
developments did medicine experience in the 16th century? We know that in this period, all sciences, let's say, were developed
Yes.
in the Renaissance. So that period showed a lot of progress in all fields of life, even in art, in science, in everywhere. So let's talk about medicine now. Miss Hanan, please.
Okay. Around the 16th century, medicine witnessed groundbreaking developments, great developments, especially in vaccinations, human anatomy, surgery, and microbiology.
Yes.
So these sciences were developed at that time.
So when we say groundbreaking developments, I think the word deserves to stop.
Yeah.
All right? This deserves a stop. What is the meaning of groundbreaking developments? When we say
Vast,
that this thing
huge.
is groundbreaking,
Great,
great,
vast, huge.
great,
Yeah.
great. You are great. Okay. So around the 16th century, medicine witnessed groundbreaking developments, and I think Pasteur,
Yeah. Appeared
let's say,
was,
introduced vaccination. He invented vaccination, human anatomy, surgery, microbiology. All these, let's say, fields of science were
Medical
developed,
sciences
yes,
developed
at that time. Now, Miss Lucia, the late 18th century, it is another period in the history of medicine. What were the contributions of the Industrial Revolution in medicine? We know that at that time there was a lot of progress in industry. So when we talk about the Industrial Revolution, of course, the Industrial Revolution affected, let's say, all fields in life at that time, especially medicine. So what were the contributions of this revolution, the Industrial Revolution, in medicine?
Actually, there were many improvements at that period that led to the improvement of medicine as well. Here, physicians discovered that each illness has got, let us say, a cause, and they searched in the cause of the illness itself. And here, hospitals developed, and they tried to be more clean and just try to let the germs away by cleaning everything.
Yes.
And here is the point that they discovered the cause and tried to treat the illness by discovering the causes, then giving the solution.
Good.
And here, of course, nursing came to be thought as a respectable job.
Good, good, good.
Because
so
hospitals are
many
developed
improvements on medical tools and machines. Physicians learned that illnesses were caused by germs, and hospitals began to focus on keeping clean to keep germs away. Nursing, as you said, came to be thought of as a respectable job at that time. So this job, let's say, appeared. It was a new, let's say, profession at that time, and it became a respectable profession. People began to think of nursing as a very important, let's say, procedure in hospitals.
And a respectable job.
Exactly. Now, Ms. Hanan, of course, we cannot ignore, when we want to talk about medicine or any science, we cannot ignore the role of Arabs in this field. When we talk about medicine, all of us know that we have in, let's say, in our history, great people, Arab people, who could, let's say, change, let's say, the form of medicine as a whole.
Yes.
Right? So when we talk about Arabic medicine, what are the contributions of Arabic medicine to medicine all over the world?
Yes.
Please.
Of course, Arabic medicine has made a major contribution to the development of pharmacy. This is also a branch of medicine, pharmacy. It is logical that, or for doctors to discover new drugs while looking for ways to treat their patients. So they are trying to find drugs, at the same time they are trying to treat their patients. And at that time there were, or the Arabs, let's say, wrote booklets. In these booklets, of course, they wrote about the history of disease. This booklet
And
was
how
called,
to treat it.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It was called Al-Mujaharat.
Al-Mujarrabat.
Sorry,
Al-Mujarrabat.
sorry,
Al-Mujarrabat, it
yeah.
means that
Something we tried.
yes,
experienced,
we let's say, faced this illness in different places, and this is the treatment
Yes.
of this illness. So they included all these things in a booklet, not a book. It was a booklet
Small
called Al-Mujarrabat.
Yeah.
So in general, we can say that Arabs had a very important, let's say, impact in pharmacy, and they contributed a lot to pharmacy. It is logical for a doctor to discover new drugs while looking for ways to treat their patients. When we talk about any doctor and he wants to treat his patients, of course, he should look for a new way to find something new to treat his patients. So the Arabs, let's say, tried a lot, and finally they could found, let's say, many treatments to different illnesses, and they included all these things in a booklet called, as we said, Al-Mujarrabat. Good. So now, Miss Lucia, in a hurry, let's say, we presented, let's say, the development or the progress of medicine from ancient times till now. Now we can talk about medicine or modern medicine.
Modern medicine.
We cannot ignore, when we want to talk about modern medicine, we cannot ignore engineering.
Of course.
We cannot ignore engineering at all. So they are interrelated, interconnected. So what is modern medicine characterized by nowadays?
Modern medicine is characterized now by using surgeries and using technological devices and radiation. All of them are used now in the modern, in the modern era. Just like using technological tools in remote places. So this kind of development led to the future, let us say, of surgeries
and the new ways
and
to
the new
treat
ways of
illnesses.
treating illnesses, like using robots.
Yes.
And something which is connected with the engineering, like the using the artificial, let us say, intelligence.
Exactly. Nowadays we can when we talk about robots, so it is related to engineering. Nowadays robots can replace doctors in some, let's say, operations. Sometimes they can replace even doctors, not only nurses. Or let's say they are assistants to the doctors, but sometimes they can replace doctors themselves. Why? Because when we talk about robots, as you know, we are talking about something very accurate when doing operations. Sometimes the operation is, let's say, sensitive, and there is an accurate work, a lot of accurate work, and it needs a robot sometimes to do this operation, not a human being. So nowadays, as you said, modern medicine is characterized by surgeries, radiation, microscopy, a lot of things. Thank you very much, Miss Lucia. Now, Miss Hanan, how would medicine be like in the future? Now, we are now here, and we have all kinds of technology.
Yes.
And because of technology, and because we know that there is a great progress in technology day by day, everything we witness something new.
Yes, sir.
In
Something
technology,
we
in
can't
all
imagine.
fields. So I think no one can imagine about
Yes.
the form of the future, but let me ask you this question. How would medicine be like in the future?
Yes. Of course, we are in the age of IT or of technology. So technology is developing very quickly, and it is certain medicine will also develop in ways we can't yet imagine. So this means we can't imagine.
We will witness
the
a lot in the
advancements, yeah.
future.
Yeah.
We will witness a lot
Yes.
in the future.
Because we are in the age of technology, which is developing very quickly.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I think, dear students, we tried to focus on the main ideas of the reading text in Unit 3. So please, we advise you, when you read any reading text in any unit, try to focus on the main ideas of this reading text. Try to discuss these ideas with your partner, with your classmate, with your teacher, with yourself. It's okay. Try to analyze the text yourself. Okay. Now we have some exercises about the
An
reading, and
activity
I
about
think
the reading text.
we can do the first exercise, which is match the words with their
Their
definitions.
definition.
Okay.
We've got the first word, which is inflammation, and we've got from the words from 1 to 8, and the other column from A to H. Inflammation means a response of body tissues to injury of the body. Number 2, purging. We can just match it with A, which is making somebody healthy and clean of bad thoughts. Number
So purging, making
purging
somebody healthy and clean of bad thoughts. Okay.
Mythological, number 3, which is with E, connected with ancient myths and stories. Number
Ancient
4,
myths and or stories, yes.
yeah,
And
therapists, people trained to give particular form of treatment for physical or mental illnesses.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ms. Hanan, please.
Yes, sir. Empirical here It means, of course, based on experience rather than ideas. Experimental, it can be also.
Consecutive.
Consecutive, it is the following one another without any interruptions.
Good.
Anatomy, it is the scientific study of the structure of the body. Remedies, medicines that cure disease.
Thank you very much. Now, we have another exercise which depends on choosing the right choice. Of course, we have some medical words in this unit. Let's say when we talk about doctors in general, what about doctors who work or who treat any, let's say, illness related to the skin? Okay, we call them doctors, but they are specialists in this type, let's say, of medicine, so they have a name.
And we have
And
certain
doctors who treat
terminologies.
any illnesses related to the eye or vision or something like that, they have another name, another term.
Ophthalmologist.
So, yes, and so on. So we actually we introduced about maybe 6 terms,
Yes.
right, in this unit, maybe.
Yes.
So students should know about them, should learn them very well, and should know what each term means or refers to. So let's try to do the exercise. Let me start with you, Lucia.
Choose the correct word. Here we've got the names or the terminologies that are connected with the
So who treats
profession
the
of the
skin
doctors.
disease?
The skin disease is dermatologist. So
Yes.
dermatologist treats skin disease.
Good.
Number 2, my father is going to the space to get his eyes checked. Of course, here,
Of course, we don't go to the dermatologist
Yeah.
to check our eyes.
course.
Okay,
Here we've
we
got-
go to someone else. Is it the cardiologist or the ophthalmologist or the allergist?
since cardiologist treats something which is connected with the heart
Yes,
or
cardio.
pressure,
Yes.
yeah. So here, number C is omitted, and allergist is the doctor who treats just anything connected with allergies. Maybe I'm allergic to dairy food, so I have to go to the
So
allergist.
it is not allergist.
So it's not allergist, and ophthalmologist is the correct answer,
Good.
which is connected with the
Good.
eye and checking
Ophthalmologist.
about
Thank you.
anything
Thank you.
connected with vision.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Now, Miss Hanan.
Yes, okay. Here we have, I have a terrible rash on my arms and legs. I think I'm allergic to dairy products. I should go to.
It
I'm
is
talking-
something like, I mean, I'm talking about rash, something
Yes.
like inflammation.
Yes, something appears
Something-
on the
yes,
skin,
yes,
of course.
yes,
something
appears on the
red.
skin.
Yeah, but we are not doctors, but something like this.
It's okay.
So we have 4 specialists: cardiologist, let's say, or allergist, dermatologist, or pediatrician. The one who is specialized in allergy should be allergist, of course. So it should be B.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Number 4, Awa recommended that little Kathy should have her tonsils out. We are talking about little Kathy, a child. So the doctor who specialized in children medicine, let's say, is a pediatrician, of course.
Good, thank you.
Yes, that's all. Yes, okay.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good, that's it. Now, we have
Medical
another
idioms now.
another exercise about medical idioms.
Idioms.
Here again, let's say we have some phrasal verbs, we have some idioms. We are talking about idioms now, not about phrasal verbs. So we have another exercise. Yes, Miss Lucy, please.
Choose also the correct word. My kids just left for 3 weeks of camp, and we've got A, checked over, B, on the mend, C, just what the doctor ordered, D, taken a turn for the worse. Here the sentence requires something which is in the space called what is needed. And the correct answer is concerning the meaning
Just
of
what
what
the
is
doctor
needed, just what the doctor ordered.
Exactly.
Number 2, it was miraculous that the little girl recovered because she, A, went under the knife, B, was at that store, C, on the mend, and D, what the doctor ordered. The correct meaning here is as was at death's door, because she was very near to death.
Good. Yes.
So here we have to choose
Yes.
at
Thank you.
death's door.
Thank you very much. Now, the passive voice. I think it is grammar now. And in grammar, we have the passive voice. I think, let's say, all students, are trained very well on the passive because they learned this skill before in previous grades. But now let's have some revision about the passive voice, Ms. Hannah.
Okay. Let's have a look first at the word order in the active voice, then how to be used, or what is the word order in the passive. So how to make the passive, as we see here in the example. The government builds bridges over the river. The government is the subject, builds is the verb, bridges is the object, and the rest of the sentence over the river. Now if you want to make it passive, we have to make changes. We move the object to the beginning of the sentence. We say bridges. If we want to form the passive, we have to use a form of verb to be. Here we use are because our sentence is in the present, and bridges is a plural, so it should be are, and verb 3, sir. If the subject is very important, like here the government, it's a noun, and it is important to say by the government, so we add the subject after the preposition by, because it is important, and the rest.
Good.
So
okay, Ms. Hannah.
this is the form.
Let's make it clear for the students. Sometimes they ask themselves, why is the passive voice? Why should we use the passive? What is the difference between passive voice and active voice? What is the difference when we say Mazen broke, let's say, the window, or the window was broken by Mazen, or the window was broken? What is the difference? Why should we use the passive? In what cases can we use the passive?
Yes.
In what cases can we omit the agent and don't mention it? Okay, I mean the subject when it becomes an agent in the passive, by Mazen. It's not necessary sometimes to mention the agent, as you know, or the doer of the action. So I think we should talk about these points to make it clear for the students. Ms. Hannah.
Usually when the same sentence can be expressed in the active or in the passive, but it depends on the importance. If you want to emphasize the doer of the action, we should use the active voice.
So you mean when the speaker is more interested
Yeah.
in the doer of the action
We say-
than the action itself, he
use
will
the
say,
active.
Lucia broke the window, not Hanan, for
Yes.
example. So
Here
I'm
we
interested.
concentrate on the subject.
I'm interested in the doer
Yeah.
of the action more than the action. But when we say, oh my God, the window was broken, so I'm more interested here in the action than the doer of the action.
Yes.
And there's something else. Sometimes we don't know the doer.
Yeah,
When
unknown.
I enter the house, for example, my house, and I find that, let's say, it was
Wrapped.
broken into or wrapped. Oh
God
my! I
forbids.
don't know the doer.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't say, "Oh my God, my house was wrapped by Lucia." I'm sorry about this, but I can't say that in real life. So here, the doer is not important. Sometimes it is not necessary to mention the doer when it is obvious. I mean, Ahmed was arrested. There is no need to say by the police, because we know that the police arrests, let's say, criminals and bad people and send them to prison. So there is no need sometimes, right? This is what I mean. Thank you very much, Ms. Hanan. Now we continue. So you mean the students should deal with three elements in the sentence: the subject, the verb, I mean the active verb, and the object.
Yes.
So when we want to make it passive, we make the object as a subject, then we use verb to be in the same tense as the active verb, then we use the past participle of the active verb. Now if we want to mention the doer of the action in the passive, it must be preceded by the word by.
By.
That's it.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Now, I think we have a lot of examples now.
Yes.
Lucia.
The house was painted by my father. Here the same thing. Here the subject receives the action and the sentence tells us what happened to the subject. So here we are interested in the action itself rather than the doer of the action.
Good.
Now we will start with the cases of the passive voice, and we will start with the present simple. Here the structure is object plus verb to be, which has the form of am or is or are, plus the verb 3 in the past participle. An example about this: John washes the car every day. When we want to change it into passive, of course, first of all, we will put the object at the beginning. So we put here the car. Then we will put the form of the passive verb, which is washed. Is the verb to
because
be.
the active verb is in the present.
In the
so we
present
use verb
simple.
to be in the present.
In the present,
The car is singular, so we use is.
not are.
Of course.
And washed is the
Past
form of the
participle
past
of wash.
participle, and the rest of the sentence, which is every day, and between two brackets we've got by John, which is the agent, of
Good.
course.
And it is optional. That's why it is between the brackets. It can be added or not.
It
Or
depends on the speaker.
Yeah.
He can mention it or
Because here
not.
we are
It's okay.
interested in the action.
Yes, exactly.
Past simple, we've got here object plus here the verb to be is in the past, was or were, plus the verb 3, and then of course by and the agent. An example about that: John washed the car yesterday, and the sentence in the passive becomes the car was washed yesterday by John. Here we put was because the sentence is in the past simple, and the form of verb to be in past simple is was or were. Why do we put here was, not were? Because the car
Because
is
the active verb
singular.
is in the past simple.
and
the car
here
is
we've got
singular.
Yes. yes
was,
yes.
not were.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Present
Yes,
continuous.
present continuous. First, the form in the passive, we have to start, as we said, with the object. We use verb to be, am, is, are. We add being because it is in the continuous form, and then verb 3 plus by the agent if it is important. John is washing the car. Now this is active. Passive, the car is being washed by John. So the form is.
So the car is the object. It
The object.
becomes the subject.
Yes, exactly.
Then we have the verb wash. The active verb is in the present continuous.
Yes, sir.
So we have to use verb to be in the present continuous. Is being.
Is being, yeah.
Then we
verb
use
3
the past participle
of the verb, yeah.
of the verb wash. So it becomes
The car is being washed by John. We are
Exactly.
emphasizing the car here.
yes.
Past continuous, as you know, we begin with the object. Now verb to be is was or were, plus being, plus verb 3. Also plus by and the agent. They were building a dam. This is in the active. In the passive, we bring the object to the beginning. We say a dam was being built.
Good.
Now we don't need here to say by them because it's a pronoun, so it
Yes.
doesn't add anything
There
to
is
the
no
meaning.
need.
Yeah.
There is no need.
Uh,
Present perfect. Here we've got the object plus have or has plus been, because this is the form of verb to be in the present perfect, plus verb 3, and then by and the agent. An example about present perfect passive: we've got the storm has destroyed many houses. Here we put the object at the beginning, many houses, and then have been destroyed because we've got have been as the form of the passive in the present perfect, and then destroyed, which is verb 3, the
So
past
here,
participle
Ms.
form.
Lucia, some students get confused and they don't know how to make this sentence passive. The active verb is in the present perfect. They should know that they have to use verb to be in the present perfect, simply. So many houses, it's okay. Now, again, there is another point, which is we have a new subject now, which is plural, not singular.
Yes.
So they look at the sentence and they see that there is the verb has, I mean a singular verb, because the subject in the first sentence is singular, the storm, while in the second one we have many houses. So they need to
becomes
use
plural.
have, not has, because it is plural. So we put verb to be in the present perfect, have been, then the past participle of the active verb, and then we mention the agent, and we precede it by the word by, so it becomes many houses have been destroyed by the storm. Okay, so let's say the main idea, dear students, is to know how to use verb to be.
That's it.
Frankly speaking, when you are able to let's say to use verb to be in different forms, okay, in the present simple you have to use am, is, are. In the past simple you have to use was, were. In the future you have to use will be. In the present perfect you have to use have been or has been. In the present continuous you have to use is being or am being or are being. In the past continuous you have to use was being or were being. So when they feel that, when they train themselves to use the different forms of verb to be in different tenses, they will form the passive easily. There is no problem at all. It needs practice.
And Mr. Bassel, here we've got two ideas. Students should pay attention to the tense itself to know what is the right form to use the verb to be. Then they pay attention to the new subject, or let us say many houses, which was the object, and then now it becomes at the beginning to know if it is plural or singular.
Yes, that's it. Another tense now.
Past perfect. Here we've got object plus had been plus verb 3 and of course by and the agent. An example about past perfect. John had washed the car before we arrived. Here had washed is in the past perfect, and we have to change the passive into the past perfect. It becomes the car, which is the object at the beginning, then had been, which is the form of verb to be in the past perfect. Then the verb washed, which is in the past participle, and then the agent before it, of course, we put by, so we put by John before we arrived.
Yes.
So here the same idea that we've got had plus been, which
Again,
is the form of
here
past
we have
perfect.
past perfect. We use verb to be in the past perfect, had been, and the past participle. Good. What about the modals, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Hanan?
Models like can, could, shall, should, must, etc. When we have one of these, like
Any modal is the same for any modal.
yes, of course, the same
Yes.
rule. So in the passive, the form will be object, modal, and modal verb plus be plus verb 3 by the agent. A strong wind can destroy a lot of crops. Here we have the modal can. A lot of crops at the beginning can be. A lot of crops can be. We add here the verb be, verb to be, I mean be. Destroyed by a strong wind. We should protect, another example here. We should protect rare animals from extinction. We have a model here, should. In the passive, rare animals should be protected from extinction. So, as you see, should be, must be, can be in the passive. Any model plus be.
It's the same.
Yes, for all models.
It's the same. We use the same model, then we use the zero form of verb to be, because we have destroy here in the zero form. Yes. So we use the same form as the active verb, as we said. We use verb to be in the same tense or form as the active verb. So can destroy, can be.
Yes.
Must destroy, must be. Should destroy, should be. That's it. Good. So
Another
should
example.
protect, should
Yeah.
be.
Yes, sir.
It's the same. Good.
Another example here. We must move people from their houses before building the dam. So must here as a model, as you see, it should be people must be moved from their houses before building the dam, as you said also,
Yes.
the model plus be. But we have a case here when the model is used in the past. The government would have built bridges. This is the past form of the models. In the passive, bridges would have been built by the government.
Yes.
Okay, we add here been between have and built.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's all.
That's it. Thank you. Now we have some notes.
We have some notes
about the passive.
About the passive. Number 1, we can use the passive and still say who or what performs the action by using by or with. So if we've got this example, the basement has been flooded by the washing machine. Here we used the word by. And if we've got another example with the word with, we've got the lights were switched on with the car phone, and
Yes.
here we've got the word by or with no difference between them.
So here, do we have another notes? Yes.
Yes.
Other notes. Yes.
Another note, number 2, sentences with verbs of 2 objects can have 2 different forms in the passive. When these verbs are used in the passive, we usually begin with the person. An example about this: the teacher gave the students plenty of time to finish the exam. Here in this sentence,
have
Mr.
two
Basil, we've got
objects.
2 objects. The teacher is the subject,
Gave is the active
is
verb.
the active verb, the students
This is object
the
number
first object, and plenty of time
This is
is
object number
the
2.
second
He gave
object.
them plenty of time.
In this sentence, we've
Yes.
got 2 forms of passive. Let's start with the first one. The students were given plenty of time to finish the exam. Here we use
We take the first object.
object and we put it at the beginning, the students. Here we have to put the verb in the passive form. We use were given, and then we put the rest of the sentence as plenty of time to finish the exam. Here students should pay attention to
So they
the
have
word
2
students,
choices: either to start your
with
sentence with the first object,
the
or to
students,
start
or
your sentence with the second
which is
object.
plenty
The
of
two are
time.
But we
acceptable.
usually start with the first one.
With the first
But
one.
it's okay if we. Why? Because we
We've got
mention
here
the students
with the person.
before plenty of time.
Yeah,
with
we
people.
usually use with the
Yes, yes.
And
So
person.
maybe
Exactly.
something else here. If we begin with the subject as a person, it gives importance to this object, of course, as a subject, in the place of subject. If we begin with plenty of time, we are emphasizing the time. So it depends on the importance.
It depends on the speaker himself,
himself.
Yeah.
whether this subject is more important for him or not.
Yes.
So he can choose.
The two are correct.
But both of them
Are
are
correct,
correct.
of course.
Good.
So the first option is the students were given plenty of time to finish the exam. The second one is plenty of time was given to the students to finish the exam. Here we put plenty of time as the second object as the beginning of the sentence. Was given is
Yes.
the form of the passive for the verb. And here we add the to in front of the students and then the rest of the sentence. Here students should pay attention to the verb to be itself because the students is plural. So here we used were. Whereas in the second sentence, which is plenty of time, here we've got was, not were. So students should pay attention to the use of verb to be.
Okay.
Note number 3, only transitive verbs, verbs with an object, can be made passive. Some transitive verbs cannot be made passive, such as become, fit, get, have, let, like, resemble, and suit. All of them don't have an object, so
Good,
we can't
good,
use them
good.
in
So,
the
for
passive.
example, when we say he smokes, we cannot make it passive
There is no
because the
object.
verb has no object here in this sentence. So, only transitive verbs can be made
Can be
passive,
made
as you
passive.
said. And when we say transitive verbs, it means that they have objects. Now we have an exercise. Before we go on, dear students, to do the exercise, dear colleagues, I'd like to remind the students that in the first copy of, let's say, our course, EMAR series, scientific section, which was copied or published last year, there is something missing now in this year. In the new copy, we have deleted, let's say, some, cases of the passive to make it easier for the students, maybe. So we deleted, for example, some cases. I'm trying to remember the reporting verbs. He said, it was said, they say, it was,
cases
it
when
is
we
said, I consider, it is considered, people consider, people report, people think, it is thought, something like that. So we deleted all these cases in the new copy of EMAR series for this year to make it only easier, and because we think that most of the students know about these. So when we say people think, and when we want to make it passive, it is simply, it is thought. People thought, it was thought. So that's it. So we are not going to talk about these cases, so that's why we cancel them from the course, and they are not required, by the way, from you for this year. So I mean, I'm talking about these cases now. Again, maybe we have do we have another case? No, I think that's it.
No, that's it.
That's everything about
Which
the
is
passage
mentioned
now.
today
Yes.
in this.
Now we
scenario.
have an exercise. Let's do it, please.
Yes, to choose here the correct answer. Our office, at the moment, we have 4 choices. It can be was decorated, decorated, is being decorated, is decorating. We started with our office. Our office is an object here, so we must use the passive form. Was decorated, it is past, passive but past. And here we have a keyword or an indicator of the tense at the moment, which means now. Be decorated, it is active form. An active form, we don't, of course, use it here. Is being decorated is the correct choice, surely. Is decorating is present continuous, but in the active, and it can't be used here.
Thanks a lot for this example, Ms. Hanan, because it is very important for the students to know that in the final exam, they will be given 4 choices, as we know.
Yes.
2 choices in the active and 2 choices in the passive, and at the same time with different tenses. So we are assessing here the students in 2 skills, not in 1 skill. 2 skills in 1 question. First of all, they have to decide which tense to choose, then which form to choose, which structure to choose. Is it the active or the passive?
Passive.
We have explained before that students should know very well when they read the sentence if the subject receives the action or transmits the action. So here when we say our office,
Surely
our
it is
office is not a
not the
human
door.
being.
not the door of the
And
action.
again, in addition to this, after the space, we don't have an object. We have only a subject. We don't have an object. So it's very clear that it is in the passive. Students should know that. And we greet all our colleagues in the field, teachers of English, because we are very sure that they are training their students on this case, I mean, on this point, to make it well-trained, to make them well-trained to choose. Give them similar examples in the same way. But when we give the 4 choices, 1 of them only is in the passive, and the 3 other choices are not in the passive. All the students will easily
Find the
choose
answer.
the passive form.
Passive form.
So it is wrong to give them 1 form in the passive and the other 3 choices in the active. So you have to make them compare and analyze, think in English. This is what we want. Make the students think in English, not to learn by heart something ready. So, Ms. Hanan.
Okay, the second example here. The company in 1980. The company should be the receiver of the action because it can do the action. The action is established, for example, to build. Of course not. The company established is wrong because it doesn't or it can't establish.
So here we have a specific time in the past.
Yes, right.
In
1980.
So they should think directly of 2 choices. I mean the past choices,
Yes,
the past
exactly.
tense. So we have here established, choice A,
So
and we have choice D, was
Was
established.
established. Both
Again,
are past.
in the past. So
But one
we
is
cancel
active.
B and C,
yeah.
right? So here, should we use the first established
No, sir.
or the
because
last one?
no, because the company can't establish. It is a thing. It can't establish. It should be established,
It
or
is
it was
a building,
established.
or it is,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the correct choice, as we said, it is past, and in the passive, was established.
Good, good.
Okay.
Okay, very nice. Miss Lucia, please.
Number 3, your old car, space to the scarp years ago. The options are should send, B, should have been sent, C, should be sent, and D, should send. The correct answer here is should have been sent, because we've got here years ago, and we have to put the modal in the past.
In the past, very good.
So should have been sent in the
Number
correct
4.
answer. Number 4, these clothes, space for daily use. A, design. B, are designing. C, designed. And D, are designed. The correct answer here is are designed, because we've got for daily use.
Yes, yes.
And we've got
Thank you.
something which
the
is
present
in the
simple.
present simple.
Good. Now, we have the pronunciation, dears. In the pronunciation, let's say, we have, as I said, a skill which is called the emphatic stress. When we want to emphasize, dear students, certain information in a sentence, we easily stress that part. For example, let me give you an example. Let's say, my brother wants to study medicine. It's an easy one, a short one. When I say, my brother wants to study medicine, not my sister. So here, when I emphasize the subject, it means that this is the most important part for me, not someone else. When I stress on the verb, it means wants, not, let's say,
This is his
hates or,
Yeah.
or doesn't want.
Yeah.
She wants, not doesn't want. Okay, to
This is
study
what
medicine,
we
not
know.
to study history. When I stress medicine, not something else. So it's so easy, dear students. Just stress any part of your sentence when you speak with others, and try to train yourself many times to master this skill. It's an
It will
easy
carry
way.
the meaning.
So here it depends on the meaning. So we usually stress, Miss Lucia.
Yes, when we want to emphasize certain information in a sentence, we stress that part. Here we've got a note. We usually stress the key words in the sentence, such as nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. An example about this. We need to be at the meeting at 4 o'clock. The different stresses in this sentence change
Change the meaning.
So
Yes.
if I read it as
We.
we need to be at
Not
the meeting
you,
at
not
4.
they.
So here
Yes.
I mean we, not
Yes.
anybody else.
Yes.
If I stress the sentence on 4, so here we need to be at the meeting at 4. So here I mean that at 4 o'clock, not at 5 o'clock. So when I concentrate on certain parts at the same
I
sentence,
think there is an exercise which
change the meaning.
clarifies this. Hanan will read it.
Now,
in
the
the
same
next.
example, we need to be at the meeting at 4 o'clock. If it is read in different 4 ways, of course, let's say, match the meaning below to the stress points 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
The meeting is at 4, not 5. How
So
should
here
it be
it's
read?
very clear the stress is
On 4.
on 4.
So it should be read like this. We need to be at the meeting at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Now, if the meaning, you and I have to be there at 4, but the others don't, this means we. So emphasize here we, it should be 1. We need to be at the meeting, so we must arrive at the building earlier. So need here, we need to be
Yes.
at the meeting at 4 o'clock. When we emphasize the meeting is at 4, not the match, I'm emphasizing the word meeting, so it should be read like this. We need to be at the meeting at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
So,
you very much.
Okay, that's all.
Now, dear colleagues, dear students, time is over. We hope that we, let's say, presented or introduced all the main skills or the most important skills in Unit 3, the scientific section, for grade 12, of course. At the end, I'd like to thank my dear colleagues, Miss Lucia Karim, an English supervisor from Aleppo Directorate. Thanks for coming, dear Lucia.
Thank you, Mr. Basil.
And Miss Hanan Kantakji, an English teacher from Hama Directorate. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your
Thank you,
participation.
sir.
You have really enriched this session for today. Dear students, dear colleagues, this is me, Basil Sadiq, greeting you from the Syrian Education Channel. Till we meet, we wish you all the best and goodbye. Thank you.